Welcome back to the channel, everyone. I'm super excited to have you back, and today we're going to be talking about how to write a seller a letter. And you're probably wondering, why the heck would I write a seller a letter? Well, guys, it's going to put you leaps and bounds ahead of the competition if necessary. So let's dive in. I'm going to tell you how to do it, why you would do it, all that. Let's go. By the end of this video, I'm going to explain to you exactly why and how writing a letter to a seller can help you get the house of your dreams. By the end of this video, I'm going to explain to you why you should be writing letters to sellers if you're trying to buy their house. I'm going to explain to you exactly how to write the letter to the seller so it's engaging and it gets your point across. What to include in this letter so it's appealing to the seller that you're trying to write to. And is it even worth it? Is it even worth taking the time to write this letter to the seller? So what we're going to dive into right now is why should you write a letter to a seller? This strategy was a little bit more important over the last 2 years, or when you're in a seller's market over the pandemic. Writing a letter kind of helped you stand out a little bit more. When there's a lot of competition, if you had 100 people walk through your house and you had 50 offers, but one person that had an offer that was pretty much similar to everybody else's writes you a letter, that's going to get you to stand out. When you're making an offer from real estate agents that represent you, there's really not much that's going to differentiate you or set you apart, especially when there's so many offers coming across. But when you write a letter, that might tug on the heartstrings of the seller and say, you know what, this person just wrote me a letter. They got a family. They've been looking in this neighborhood for a long time. Their mother-in-law lives right down the street. It's the best location for the schools. Writing that letter and explaining them exactly why you want that house might get you an edge up on the competition. Another thing you can do is, how's the best way to deliver this? How is the best way to deliver a letter? Well, I mean, it's really up to you. A handwritten letter is probably better than an email or a text message. So you got your different ways you want to do it, but I would suggest, if you're going to do it, if it's possible, write a handwritten letter, nice little cursive letters if you can do that, and just explain to them in your loving letter that you would love to buy their house. Number one, write them a handwritten letter. If you can't, if you're in a location where you can't deliver them the letter, send them an email, send them a text, write it out, make it nice. Put it on a Google Doc or Word, make it a nice little letter. But that's how I would present a written letter. I would give them either a handwritten one or in email form, and have either you can deliver it to them or you can have the real estate agent deliver it to them. All right, guys, so before I keep going, I kind of like to interact with everybody in the comment section and the people in the community that are watching these videos. So I want to know, comment below if you've ever written a letter to a seller that you're trying to buy their house. I'm curious. And if you even want to go in depth and deeper on your letter, tell us what you said. I think everybody would enjoy knowing why you wanted to write a letter and what you said, if you feel like you can be that open with us. But hey, we're a family here, so go ahead, leave a comment, and I'll read it. Okay, so what do you include in this letter that you're writing to a seller? If you've never written a letter in general, or if you've never written a letter to a seller, you might be like, well, what the heck do I write? I come from a background where I wrote a lot of letters. I went on a mission for my church for 2 years, so I was writing letters all the time, whether that's email or handwritten letters, so I'm pretty good at it. But let me just kind of give you some bullet points of what you need to write in this letter. First of all, you obviously need to introduce yourself and say, hey, look, this is, my name's Nathan, and I have a family. Tell them where you're from. Give them a little background. Let them know about you so they can kind of connect with you. Maybe if you want, you can even leave some social media links in there so they can check you out, but not necessary. Anyway, so introduce yourself. Tell them exactly why you want to move into their house. Why is their house the perfect option for you? Why you've been looking around for so long and this is the one, exactly the property that you want for yourself. So introduce yourself, explain why you want the property, and maybe, I don't know if you can incentivize them, like just be like, hey, if you did this for me, I'd really appreciate it. Maybe I can bake you some bread or give you some cookies or whatever. I don't know if that's legal. Maybe if it was a real estate agent, it wouldn't be able to do that. But maybe you as the seller, as the buyer and talking to the seller, you can do that. So that's kind of, just a generic letter. Just introduce yourself, let them know why you want to move in their house, and maybe give them a little gift. And maybe you can even say this, hey, look, if it doesn't work out, you end up going with someone else, I appreciate the opportunity and I wish you the best of luck, but I would love to move in your house. So that's kind of how you would write that letter, all right? So you're like, why should I listen to Nate? What authority does he have on writing letters to people? Well, I actually did this, all right? Let me tell you the story of what I did. So my wife is from Canada, okay? And one of our goals is to live in Canada during the summer and then live in the United States during school time. We don't have kids now, but when we do, or the goal would be, have the kids in school and then in the summer go hang out with their family. So what happened is her sister, they live north of Toronto, right? If you know where Toronto, Ontario is. So her sister has a really nice house and she's got about an acre and a half. And we love the area where my wife lives because it's like nice and farmy. It's just got like bunch of space, bunch of fields, and I like that a lot. I like space. I like to be able to see far out, and I'm in Utah right now, so there's mountains. It's not like that here. There's a lot of homes, and it's all like compact and a lot of traffic. It's not like that there. They live in what's called cottage country, right? Her sister just bought a house a couple years ago, and the house that's right down the street became available for sale. Now this house, it was very expensive at the time, and it's actually dropped down since then now because we didn't get it. It's too expensive. But we wrote a letter to the seller, okay? We wrote a letter to the seller, exactly what I'm telling you to do, we did it. So we wrote a letter, we said, hey, look, we'd love to buy this house, we'd like to make this offer. I know you're probably getting better offers, but we would love to move in. We're from the United States, we come here all the time, we wanna have our own place, and it's literally like less than a mile, like whatever, it was very close, less than a mile down the road, and we'd love to live here. So please consider our offer, and thanks for the consideration. Now the agent representing the seller also represents us, right, doing the double dip strategy, and he gave the letter to the seller, and the seller started going back and forth with us and talking to us, and we tried to figure out a deal. Now this property was kind of a long shot because we tried to get it on terms, because the property, and I'll tell you what terms are later if you don't know what creative financing is. I'll tell you that in another video. But we tried to get it because it was such an expensive property. It had like 131 acres, and at that time the real estate in Canada was freaking so high. So I'm kind of glad we didn't get it, and it's actually still for sale, so we might get it, who knows. But we wrote a letter and we were able to establish that credibility with the seller, and there were some other offers, but at least we were in the running with a worse offer, or offer, not worse, but it was less than the competition. So writing a letter got us, I guess, the credibility for the seller to consider our offer, even though it wasn't as good as the other ones. If you're considering writing a letter and saying, is it even worth it? I would say, how long does it take you to write a letter? For us, it took us maybe 10, 15 minutes before we sent it off, and we sent it out on an email. At the beginning of the video, I told you to write one, but we weren't gonna hand write one and then mail it to Canada. So we just sent an email, and the agent gave them the email, the letter we wrote. But I would say yes, it's totally worth it. If you really want something, and guys, this doesn't even have to go with real estate. This is anything in life. If you want something, tell them why you do, ask them for their help. People want to help people succeed in life. And I know this because I try to put myself out there a lot with influencers and other coaches and people that are further ahead than me in the game. And I reach out to them and say, hey, I'd love to talk to you. I was wondering if I could pick your brain. And you'd be surprised how many people are willing to give you lend you their time, lend you their ear, and talk with you. So this is not just something, again, in real estate, but this is something to learn in life, that if you want something, go ahead and go get it. Just don't make an offer and just sit there and think you're gonna do it. Follow up, write letters, tell people what you need. People want to help you succeed if they're good. I want to help everyone succeed. So do that. That's why it's definitely worth your time to write a letter. This is more common in the seller's market. Obviously, if you're in a buyer's market and there's tons of properties for sale and there's little buyers, then you're not going to really need to write a letter. So again, in a seller's market, this is way more prevalent. This is going to happen a lot more, is writing letters. But have you thought about this? I'm gonna tell you about one thing before we wrap up this video that maybe you haven't thought of. So I got a great team behind me, and they just told me, hey, this might be a good option to talk to people about other than writing a letter. We're in the day and age of technology, so why not just send them a video? Maybe like a little video chat, or they have a bunch of different ones like Loom, Zoom, StreamYard. They got a bunch of these different videos, or you could just take one on your phone, send them a video of you and the family. If you got a family, make it really nice and cheesy, and maybe they'd be able to watch that and be like, oh wow, I feel like I know those people. So that's actually another great idea. So can you write a letter to a seller? Yes, but can you also send them a video? Heck yeah. So you got a handwritten letter, an email, or now that we're in the age of cell phones and making it super easy to communicate through technology, give them a video. Check out the video that I talk about what is a seller's market, because if you're not exactly sure what a seller's market is and how writing a letter helps you in a seller's market, check it out.